Well, we've reached the end of the line. This is what all things have led to. We all knew that there was going to be another MK game, and we had no idea what it was going to be about and who was in it. What did we get? Well, once we saw this image, we knew what we were getting. It was going to involve every single character from the series. All the trailers, all the promos were highlighting that this was going to be the final battle. Every character who had been in the series up to that point was going to be in it, even if they were a one-time only character. Hype was high. What was up with Blaze in this picture? But yet I seriously questioned, why? Why was this going to be the last game? Deception didn't imply that the next game was going to be the finale of everything that came before it. I'm guessing this has to do with the fact that the console generation of PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube was pretty much on its way out, and this is the last MK game in this style, essentially capping off a trilogy of sorts that began with Deadly Alliance. Did Mortal Kombat Armageddon deliver? Was it an epic finale? Well, let's find out. Before we begin, I'm playing the Nintendo Wii version, which came out a few months after the PS2 and Xbox versions. Why? Because this version actually has a completed roster. Yeah, Chameleon with a K, not a C, wasn't included in the initial roster because of time constraints, but was added to the Wii version after fan demand put her in. So we start with the intro. The intro shows a massive battle taking place. There's no information on what happened at the end of Deception like there was with Deception's intro, but I suppose this intro gets the job done at setting the stage. You can pretty much see every character in the game fighting somewhere in the background, and quite a few do die. Some of the highlights has got to be Shang Tsung noticing zombie Liu Kang standing right behind him, but it all ends with a mysterious fiery creature emerging from the pyramid. As for what everyone is doing in this crater fighting each other, well, this is where Armageddon dropped the ball. There are no bios like there were in every other previous MK game. I'm not quite sure why, but apparently the story team was told no bios at some point, and thus a lot of things were left unexplained. Characters who we were told were killed like Shiva and Mutaro, who is strangely two-legged now instead of four-legged like he was in MK3, although this is because the engine couldn't handle a four-legged character, so they came up with the idea of a curse or something. But back on track, I got sidetracked there. Yeah, characters are back for the finale, and there's no explanation for why or how some of them are back. Leaving bios out was a very unfortunate move. Fan outcry did lead to some of the bios getting released online, which you can Google and find if you so choose, but unfortunately, out of 63 characters, how many characters had their bios released? 10. The only story you get is Conquest Mode, making its return again, so I'll be starting with that mode. Thousands of years ago, the protector of Edenia, Argus, and his wife Delia had foreseen that a time would come when there would be too many combatants, and that they would cause the apocalypse by tapping into the forces that made reality possible. So Argus has set a plan in motion. By using the fire spawn Blaze to monitor the realms, he set his sons into suspended animation, and that when they would awaken, they would embark on a quest to stop Armageddon. Although I have to wonder what the hell was he doing when Shao Kahn tried to take over Edenia. Seems like Raiden's the only proactive god. Anyway, we cut to the present day. One of Argus's sons, Taven, is awoken by his dragon guardian, Orin. He's told that he has to go on a quest to save the realms, and whoever wins shall succeed him as protector of Edenia. Not really sure what to make of it, but having no other choice, Taven heads to Argus's temple. Along the way, a clan tries to attack him for unknown reasons. Taven arrives at the temple, and is told that he must go to his mother's temple next. After a quick detour where Sector kidnaps him, Taven arrives in the frozen wastelands, and eventually makes his way to the Lin Kuei temple, which is actually Delia's temple. He retrieves his mother's gift, a suit of armor, but notices that the other door that was for his brother Dagon is already open. But there's no time to debate, as Noob Saibot's forces attack the Lin Kuei temple. After you fend them off, Sub-Zero directs Taven to the Red Dragon who had been attacking him. Arriving at the Red Dragon stronghold, Taven meets Dagon, who looks older and confirms that he has been awake for quite some time. In fact, he founded the Red Dragon and has been waiting for Taven to awaken. Why? So he can kill him, of course. Dagon intends to claim the prize for himself. After surviving an encounter with Mavado, Taven makes his way out and discovers Karo, Dagon's guardian, who he had enslaved and created the Red Dragon in his image. Taven frees Carl, learning from him that Dagon has apparently killed Argus and Delia. With that in mind, he heads back to Orin to discover that Quan Chi has mortally wounded him. Tracking Quan Chi down to the Netherrealm, Taven finds Shinnok, and not knowing that he was banished to the Netherrealm helps him retake his spire. Not sure how he doesn't know, because didn't Shinnok's banishment happen millions of years ago? After Taven leaves in pursuit of Quan Chi, we see that Shinnok is helping Dagon. The truth of this quest is everybody is after the prize. They don't know what it is, but the forces of light and forces of darkness won't allow the other to get it. Taven emerges in Outworld, and eventually finds Quan Chi speaking to Shao Kahn, Onaga, and Shang Tsung. He tells them that they must put their differences aside and join together to go against the forces of light. As they depart, Raiden attempts to stop Taven, because he's made a deal with Shao Kahn, which just screams disaster. But anyway, Taven arrives in Edenia, where he runs into Scorpion. Turns out the Elder Gods screwed Scorpion over, and merely resurrected his clan as undead wraiths. Yeah, that's a dick move, but in terms of character progression, this is a big step backwards for Scorpion. Scorpion just wants revenge again. But after Taven beats Scorpion, he'll confront Dagon. Blaze appears and tells him that they must fight at the proper location. Taven beats Dagon, and Blaze tells him that Argus intended to kill all the fighters, but Delia disagreed, as some were heroes undeserving of death. Like a coin toss, one of their two sons would determine the two outcomes. One would strip them of their powers, and one would kill them all. Unsure which side of the coin he is, Taven steps into battle. After you beat Blaze, Taven finds that the quest didn't achieve either result. It only made the combatants stronger, making the whole quest completely pointless. Well, that's how it was all supposed to go down, but when the next game came out, things changed, but that's a discussion for another time. Anyway, Taven and Dagon's conflict is not very interesting. Both are just kind of bland in personality. I really didn't feel any investment. For something that's supposed to be the grand finale, why was the focus on a new character instead of one we've been following for years? Really odd choice. The gameplay of Conquest plays similar to Shaolin Monks in that it's an action-adventure game. You have your special moves, and you can perform quick fatalities on your opponents. But it gets a little repetitive. You can unlock chests and collect coins in this mode like you could before. Looking at this concept video, it seems Taven was originally going to use a bow and arrow, but it was removed. Not sure if it would have helped the gameplay, but it's something. In addition to having 63 characters, you can actually create your own character this time around. I didn't spend a lot of time doing this, but the options are there if you want to explore them. You can even give your character anime hair, which I thought was amusing. There's also Motor Combat, which is basically Mortal Kombat meets Mario Kart, and it's actually not that bad. I came into this mode fully expecting to hate on it, but for a Mortal Kombat meets Mario Kart minigame, it's actually not done too bad. I actually had fun. Yeah, that was surprising. As for the gameplay, were any improvements made? Well, each character now only has 2 fighting styles. I can understand why this was done, because it would be hard to give over 60 characters 3 fighting styles, but it does lessen your combo potential. That seems to be where the new air combat comes in. You can knock your opponent into the air, but unfortunately there's not a lot of variety in doing this. Every character has more or less the same moves in the air. But finally, there is a proper wake-up game where you can attack after you get knocked down. I usually go with an uppercut. You can even go back down to the ground on your own accord, but this makes dodging projectiles even easier. The stages are all a variety of old and returning. Stage transitions return, which usually involve knocking your opponent downstairs, and stage fatalities, in the event that you want to end a match really quickly, which leads me to... fatalities are not what they used to be. For the first time, you can create your own fatality, and you get graded for how far you were able to take one. But unfortunately, these get really repetitive really quickly, because now fatalities don't feel unique to any certain character anymore. All you can do is tear out limbs. It's really kinda underwhelming, and it's one of the most disappointing aspects of this game. The idea was nice, but the execution wasn't there. The crypt is back, but it's more of a mausoleum this time around, and thank God there's only one kind of currency. Much better than the last 2 games, with all the different kinds of currency. Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to unlock that's particularly interesting, besides extra costumes. If I was to criticize anything about arcade mode, is that the towers or the rosters you fight, there's shockingly very few variations. I found myself fighting the same characters almost every 5 or so matches. I will admit, I turned the difficulty down to Novice, and the rounds down to 1. I have no shame. Couldn't they have made it so that each character's arcade mode had unique opponents, like maybe Scorpion's final boss is Quan Chi and Liu Kang fight Shang Tsung or something? I mean, the menus are all backgrounds of the big rivalries of MK. Scorpion and Sub-Zero, Katana and Mileena, Liu Kang and Shang Tsung, and yet nothing of that comes. Add some text like you did in Deadly Alliance's Conquest. Make there be a story behind each of them. Something! There's also a noticeable lack of attention to detail. I mean, look, Shao Kahn is in the background of the arena watching, but even if you are playing as Shao Kahn, he'll still be in the background. Come on! How do you get away with missing that? Animations are very stiff as well. Fujin's hair is just a joke to look at. Hair does not work this way. So you beat Blaze, whose death animation is pretty much the exact same as Onaga's. Gotta save money any way you can, right? So with Blaze beat, you'll get your usual ending. Let's just say they are very disappointing. Instead of even getting a picture with text, you just get your character doing a kata while Argus narrates over them. And unfortunately, the endings aren't very conclusive at all. They're just, what if this character was the one that beat Blaze? Some don't wrap up anything at all, like Scorpion's ending. Or they are just utterly nonsensical. If I was to go into all the endings, this would be a 45-minute video, and that's not really the point. So in summation, the endings were a total letdown. Not exactly something you'd want from the grand finale of an era. Also, I noticed that you can't watch the endings again unless you replay the arcade mode. I mean, in the past games, I could watch any ending I unlocked, but not here? What's up with that? When did this idea of simple convenience become obsolete? So that's Mortal Kombat Armageddon. In a nutshell, it was very disappointing. There were some improvements to the gameplay and some good ideas, but the execution was lacking. For a game that was supposed to give everything a grand sense of closure, the game failed to do that. It didn't end with a bang or a whimper, just a thud. It's a shame, and it was a mark that the series was on its way out. Could the series regain its former glory? It was promised that the next MK game was going to be very different and very serious, but what did we end up getting? Well, join me next time. This is RetrospectGreg signing off. Have a fantastic day, and take care. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the video. Gonna try out the new YouTube annotations. Let's see. Subscribe to my channel, working on a profile picture, and check out these 2 videos here. Alright guys, I'll see you next time.